guys, how's it going? It's Zoe. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to discuss how to write and distribute a press release for your small business. If you're new here, make sure you slap that like button and hit the bell and the subscribe button so you don't miss any more wealth chat videos on this channel. So first of all, what is PR? PR is a process of managing information about an individual or a brand and controlling how it's perceived and consumed by the public. Every individual or business who operates in the public eye is faced with the spread of information about them. So PR methods are used to control how people consume the information about them, to change or manage how they feel about the individual in order to build long-lasting consumer or customer support for the brand or business. The main purpose of PR is to present the brand, individual or business to the general public in the most positive light possible in order to encourage long-lasting brand support and to create a positive perception of the brand or business. We see this a lot with individuals like celebrities or major corporations who might have a good or bad reputation in the public eye, who go out and do positive acts of service like giving to charity, setting up public foundations to raise money for public services. We see a lot of different examples of this. Rihanna has her diamond ball. We saw BP rebrand with green branding to make their fuel company seem more eco-friendly, like it's damaging the environment less so. There's so many different ways that PR is used, to news articles which are posted about individuals to change the way we feel and how we see them as people or as businesses. One of the main ways that businesses and individuals present themselves to the general public is by sending press releases to journalists and newspapers in their relevant field of work or industry. So now I'm going to discuss how to write a press release for your small business. First of all, you should consider whether you need a press release in the first place. Is your news story even newsworthy? Is it interesting enough for a journalist to consider putting your news article in the magazine or a blog or a newspaper? You might just be updating a product that's very similar to products you have already, and you might not need to send out a large news story to loads of journalists in the industry. It might be more effective to send out a newsletter or something targeted at the audience you already have, if it's something that's quite trivial or something that's not majorly different from what you've already put out into the general public already. Don't just send out press releases for the sake of it. It needs to be worth their time because journalists receive so many emails every day with new articles and stories. You don't want to send through something that's not worth their time because it could ruin your chances of working again with them in the future on a different project. Consider why you're sending out the press release. What are you trying to achieve through sending out the article or having it published somewhere? Is there a better way to achieve your goal through a different strategy? For example, if you're trying to achieve greater brand awareness, there might be other ways you can go about achieving that instead of sending out a press release to a journalist. Think about what your story is about. Does it capture the essence of your brand? Is it something that is going to draw more attention to your brand? Is it something that's going to stand out against your competitors that's even worthy of a story in the first place? So once you confirm that you want to send out a press release, think about what your story is. Think about the who, what, where and why. Try to keep it concise and brief. Try to keep it interesting without creating a long backstory before getting to the point of your story. What is it about your story that's appealing? Think about it almost like an elevator pitch. Try to condense the core facts and interesting key points of your story right at the beginning of the press release. Journalists are very short on time, so you want to capture their attention as quickly as possible. Think about the integrity of your story. Is your story genuine, or are you just jumping on a trend or bandwagoning on something that is currently popular in your industry? If you work in fashion, for example, and you claim to be sustainable, are you genuinely sustainable? Do you have a history of being sustainable as a brand, or is it something that you have recently changed just to fit in with a recent trend? Don't include a long backstory in your press release. Try to keep it clear and concise. Don't make it conceptual. Make it very understandable and easy to read, and you should be fine. What makes a good press release? Imagine your story on a blog or in a newspaper. What will grab a lot of attention? What will retain an audience and keep them reading? How can you tell your story well? You need to have an angle with your story, something that's going to make it differentiated from your competitors. Also, try to avoid using cliché phrases in your article. For example, if you work in tech and you're a new startup, try to avoid using phrases like disruptive or the Uber of the X, Y, and Z. Try to avoid comparing yourself to existing startups. Journalists hear so many cliché phrases all the time. If you work in fashion, they're going to hear the words iconic and unique all of the time. So try to avoid using cliché phrases to make yourself sound less repetitive. Again, your service, product or concept should be really apparent in the first few sentences of your press release. It shouldn't be hard to understand, it should be as clear as possible. So for the length of your press release, you should try to stick to 1 page maximum. Maybe you could structure your press release by dividing it into 3 paragraphs, and you should also include links to any relevant websites or materials or even downloadable images in the email as well. Don't include loads of images as attachments to your emails. It's best to have a separate link where they can download or view the images separately. Maybe include a link to Dropbox where they can click on it and browse a selection of relevant materials or images separately in a new tab. But don't include loads of images as attachments to your email. It makes it slower to download, it makes it slower for them to open it, and they simply might not have time to download all of your images to see them in the first place. Also include some links to your social media websites or any other relevant sites that they might want to view in your press release as well. Next, please make sure that the tone and language of your press release aligns with the audience of the newspaper that potentially might read your article or an article written by the journalist based on your press release. If you work in fintech or finance, you potentially might have an older audience who is more formal. If you're sending out a press release for a fashion brand or a fashion collection that's targeted at teenagers, then again you would write your press release with a tone of voice that suits that audience, that is more, maybe less formal, that is more, trendy sounding, or, you just have to really consider where your article or press release is going to end up and who is going to read it, and also consider the language or the style of writing that the journalists you target typically write in as well. Also, when you're emailing journalists, please approach them professionally. Don't use language which is too chummy, like your friends. You are approaching somebody who you don't know on a professional basis, so again, try to be a bit more formal. It's also a very good idea to include the names and logos of any sponsors you might have for your press release or project at the bottom of it, especially if the project was heavily influenced or heavily supported by your sponsors as well. So, who should you send your press release to? Firstly, it's really important to target relevant journalists in your topic, niche or industry, and don't just send out loads of mass emails to completely irrelevant journalists. You need to do your research and make sure you create a list or a media list of relevant journalists who write about topics that are similar to the topic you are sending in your press release. Journalists are much more likely to respond to your PR emails if they think you understand what they currently write about. You need to make sure that the topic of your press release aligns with the topics they typically cover in their articles or newspaper stories, so you don't waste their time and again ruin any other future chances of ever working with them in the future. Here is what to include and what to leave out. And in terms of including images in your press release, I would try to limit it to just one large image or one focus image, if that, because including loads of images in the body of text tends to break up the flow of the writing. So I would try to edit and restrict the amount of images that you put in your actual press release as well. Also, don't use cliche opening sentences like, "I know you're busy, but," or "you probably receive loads of articles like this," etc., because it just doesn't come across very professional. They already know that they receive loads of articles, so you don't really need to tell them that they do in the email. Overall, there's loads of benefits to sending out press releases. If you send out a press release to a large online blog and it has loads of backlinks to your website, that can really help your website to rank higher on Google search. It's really good for SEO for your business as well. So again, that's a really good reason to send out a press release to a blog that's influential and very relevant to the sector that you're in. Press releases are very good because it can help to drive traffic to your website, business or service. So again, if you target journalists or news outlets that have an audience that aligns with your target audience, it can be really beneficial for sales and to help your business to find potential leads for your product or service. And if you are a new startup or business, it can really help you to build a name in the industry. It can really help people to become more familiar with your business, whether that's other professionals in the industry or your target customers. And again, it's just a very good way to build up an audience and a following over time, especially if you're featured in a blog or newspaper article that, you know, is from a very influential or prestigious publisher. Do your research, find publications that write about things that are similar to your press release and see what they write about. And then you can create a media list of relevant journalists that you need to keep up to date, because journalists, you know, come and go. Some journalists change jobs. Here is another point about building your media list. For the fashion industry, there's a website called the Fashion Monitor, and that website allows you to find the contact details of relevant journalists as well. There are usually websites and databases for different industries where you can find and access the contact details of relevant journalists as well. So definitely do your research, find the industry places, find the names of journalists, especially journalists that you've previously read their work before and you like their writing style or the way they cover stories. Create a media list and keep it up to date, and find the relevant websites to find their emails to contact. Once you send it off, give people time to respond, because again, they're very busy people. You know, give them a time to read through it and to, you know, give you a response by email. Don't inundate them with any physical PR press releases. I've heard stories about people sending like balloons and physical news stories and, you know, like teddy bears and gifts. I mean, to be honest, it's best if you just stick with emails. So there you have it. I hope this helps you to get started with writing your press release for your small company or for your individual personal brand. You can contact a wide selection of news outlets. You could target high-profile blogs, vlogs, newspaper articles online. You could target traditional newspapers as well. Thank you for watching. Stay bougie, stay ambitious. I will see you in the next video.